With gaming having so many genres to enjoy, I do love when a game tries to attempt to mix two genres together. In the AAA space, Borderlands is a good example of a game combining elements of the gameplay of a shooter with the reward system of an RPG. While not the first of its kind, it was the one to popularize this new genre. Games like Destiny, Division, and Anthem all sprung from it. In the indie space, I played a fun little title that combined elements of a shooter with a tower defense game. Sentinels is a fun indie game that has you setting up towers and taking out mobs of enemies. But you can also assume the control of towers themselves and play it like a first-person shooter. I really like these hybrid-like games as it allows for opportunities for new ideas to come along with new genres then coming out of them. I felt the same way about a new title called Indivisible. Indivisible has a gorgeous art style and the gameplay looks to combine elements of turn-based RPGs and platformers. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my review for Indivisible. Indivisible combines elements of platformers along with the combat of active turn-based RPGs.
Nice try.
Indivisible is a really interesting game as it combines the gameplay from two different areas. Let's start out with the platforming. The game is presented to the player in a side-scrolling format, and your main means of exploring the environments is through the platforming. The platforming does start out rather simple. You have access to a jump and slide to help you through the early areas. Along with this, you earn an axe that helps you both in combat and to take down barriers. The first few areas of the game felt like the platforming was not that challenging and was more there to just break up the combat sections of the game. But as I continued with the game, I was continually surprised at how the platforming would get more and more engaging. As you progress, you will find yourself earning more and more moves. You will earn a bow, and that will help you hit objects from far away. Along with this, you can change the type of arrow that you have. One turns spiked walls into something that you can jump on. You also earn a spear that you can then throw, and you can also use this spear as a means to jump higher. And even the early axe lets you hit walls to be able to open them up, along with hitting walls up high to be able to let you jump up further. As the game introduces more mechanics, the platforming areas got more and more challenging. This feels more like a nice subtle increase in difficulty, and I was welcome to that. Many of the later areas feel like mini puzzle rooms that you have to try and figure out what to use in your arsenal to be able to get to the next room. Along with this, many of the dungeons will have their own specific things to them to change up the platforming. One dungeon has these water cubes that you use to travel around. They can allow you to jump up to areas that you wouldn't really be able to get to with your normal jump. Stuff like this helps to bring a nice uniqueness to each of the dungeons, which is nice because they are visually different, but it's nice that they have their own personal mechanics to them. The platforming was something that I initially looked at as being well done, but it lacked a certain something to really make it engaging. I really appreciated how the platforming would continually get better as you progressed. Adding the new mechanics very much helped to keep the platforming engaging, and as a result made it more rewarding. The environments do allow for some extra exploration with the use of red collectibles. Collecting these will allow you to be able to boost your attack or defense. These are usually tucked away in a hidden area or in one that requires you to look at the map a bit differently and do some type of challenging platforming. The platforming was better than I expected it to be, and I give the developers credit for continually adding elements to it to make it more and more engaging. But platforming won't be the only thing you'll be doing. When in combat, the game shifts to an active turn-based system.
Yeah.
While on the surface, the combat works like an active turn-based game, but there's definitely a lot more going on here. You have up to 4 characters in battle with you. Each character is assigned to one of the 4 face buttons. Each of the characters have different moves that they can pull off by hitting their attack button in different directions. While in combat, you can have several of your characters attack in sequence and chain longer combos. This is really fun to pull off as the game rewards you for knowing how your characters attack. When an enemy attacks one of your characters, it will indicate who they are trying to hit. You have the opportunity to block to reduce the damage done to you, but blocking has a little minigame to it. If you can get the blocking down, you will not take any damage from an enemy and you will actually heal yourself a little bit. This can be really tough to get down as you really need to learn the different enemies' attacks. When you hold down your block button, you will drain your charged up energy that you use for your special moves, but successful blocks will then get you more energy. Your regular attacks will also increase this energy. You will want to try your best to refill this bar, as it's a great means to heal every member of your team or revive them. Along with this, you'll be able to use your special moves. These attacks do a lot more damage. As your power bar grows throughout the game, you will be able to use multiple power bar sections in one attack, or you can have several of your characters use several power moves in succession. The combat is both fun and rewarding.
Oh, there we go. Commence attack.
You're done.
Oh, there we go.
I really like the combo system, especially with how the different attacks work, as you can juggle foes and build up your combo. In many ways, this reminds me of an action game. There are many different enemies that you will fight, and some will require different tactics to be able to take them down. There are enemies that you need to hit into the air before you can damage them. Others, you need to be able to break their shield, or you'll have others that will try to call in reinforcements mid-battle. The battles are really engaging, and the large cast of characters means you'll be able to mix and match a lot. The characters have their own ins and outs, and this helps to change up the gameplay a bit. For example, there's one character who uses water as her main attack. As you attack, she will leave puddles around the battlefield. She can then do a move that will activate the puddles, and if an ally steps in them, then they will be healed, but if an enemy steps in the puddle, then they'll be damaged. Another character that I enjoyed to use was one that was able to plant traps in the ground, and these were really useful because once an enemy got near them, they would get attacked. And in some cases, the enemy would go in to attack one of my characters and then get hit by one of the traps, thus canceling their attack. There's a lot of options to consider with this game, and it gives the player a lot of different choices with the different characters. There's probably other combinations that I didn't even consider or try, and as expected, there are boss fights to fight as well. What I really liked about the dungeon ending boss fights were how they would surprisingly incorporate both the combat system and the platforming. For most of the fight, you would be in the combat system, and then at different points within the battle, you would then need to figure out how to dodge an attack through platforming. Sometimes there were attacks that you needed to dodge or find the boss and then be able to hit them again to be able to start up the combat. I like these elements, and it brought some variety to the encounters. The game has a lot of story content, and most of it is voice acted. Thankfully, the voice acting is pretty well done, with a variety of characters and some nice bits of humor as well.
This web reminds me of something I came across in my research. Something the forest folk call the Beast Lord. Pinda something,
You mean Pindayar? The Beast Lord that feasts on travelers and uses human body parts to construct his body? My dad talked about that thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're looking at here, I'd say. The human limb collector, Pindayar.
Know me?
There are so many children in this army. One simply can't keep track of every insignificant little thing. You there, girl, come closer. Your itty is strong. I can feel it.
The story starts out as a revenge tale, and then it quickly turns into a larger story. There's elements of working as a team and forgiveness thrown in there as well. The humor is almost consistently present, and most of it landed for me. I never found the game hilarious, but it did make me smile and chuckle when they threw in a joke. The story definitely is a familiar tale, and the voice actors do a great job at bringing some life into these characters. The performances are really well done, and I do really want to praise the awesome introduction cutscene. This thing is just simply great. I had a few flaws with the game. My big one was how you would occasionally encounter enemy types that would be able to kill you in one hit if you didn't perfectly block their incoming attack. I found these spots to be difficulty spikes and frustrating to do. In these instances where I could just run from the fight, I would, so I didn't have to deal with them. I enjoyed the streamlined nature of the leveling up and how the collectibles did actually factor into helping you grow in power. But I did wish that the game had a bit more going on with some type of weapons to upgrade or maybe something else to equip and earn. This is more of a suggestion than a complaint, but I think it would have been a nice touch to be able to include a mode to be able to have a co-op option for combat. You can have each player controlling 2 characters. While the second player wouldn't have much to do during the platforming sequences, it would be great to be able to enjoy this game with a friend. And lastly, I need to praise the soundtrack. The presentation is excellent in this game. The game ran great, it looks awesome with its great style, and the soundtrack made every action that much better. Here are a few tracks from the game. Indivisible is a great experience all around. The visuals and music are great with a solid presentation. The hybrid gameplay style does a great job at working together. I very much enjoyed the combat system and trying to find ways to maximize my power bar and combos. The platforming starts out simple and continually gets more and more engaging with how the game introduces more elements to it. The boss fights are pretty fun as well, and they keep you engaged with both platforming and combat. If you like RPGs, then I would highly recommend you play this one.